Lego Batman is a phenomenal phenomenon, and even after all these years, it still seems to have a steady place in the market today. Perhaps the most beloved of all in this franchise are the Lego Batman video games, starting with the first Lego Batman, which is a true classic. Then we get over to Lego Batman 2, which I would personally classify as an absolute banger. And then, Lego Batman 3 existed. And don't forget about the movie. But the newest in this epic line of lineage is Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. So today we're going to be reviewing this newest addition to the Lego Batman family and seeing how it stacks up. When first booting up Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, you have to make a critical change, and that is changing it from United Kingdom English to United States English, of course. Now, I'm an extremely epic gamer, so I of course went for Dark Knight mode. I load up into the prologue and notice just how beautiful everything looks. However, I'm immediately forced to notice how laggy some of my stuff is and I have to tweak my settings even more. The first thing we learn about in this game is the detect skill, and honestly it kind of just serves as a if you're stuck push this button and you'll be able to figure it out from there kind of thing. As all Lego games should, I start by helping my parents redecorate while I'm looking for my costume, and after I completely destroy this bush, I finally have my Grey Ghost costume completed. Of course, it's a Batman prologue, so we all know where it was going to end up eventually. Then we're introduced to Falcone, which happens to be the first person that ends up on Batman's hit list. The first introduction to combat in this game is when grown-up Bruce Wayne and Gordon meet outside the Iceberg Lounge and get into a fistfight with some of the local goons. And let me just say, this combat did not disappoint. Typically in LEGO games, it's fairly straightforward, linear, easy, nothing much to it. However, in this game, they turn the combat into a much more integral part of the challenge. Another thing you'll notice is in the bottom left where I have 3 Lego heads representing my 3 lives, where if I lose all 3 of those lives then I'm be forced to restart the entire level. Now this never actually happened to me because I'm kind of good and I played Dark Souls, so clearly I'm a really good gamer, but I like to think it's there to just add a little bit of extra pressure and challenge to the game as a whole. After this fight takes place, we're then introduced to Ra's al Ghul, who tells Bruce Wayne to come to his super secret ninja training camp way high up in the mountains. We then jump forward again to where Bruce Wayne is in the middle of climbing the mountain looking for the blue flower he needs to enter the League of Shadows. He then runs into Tally, and of course they kind of half team up, half kind of don't as they work their way through the challenges of overcoming the mountain. This little trip up the mountain really served as a good example of kind of what to expect for the rest of the game, where it was like equal parts kind of goofy, but then it also just like looked great, and then the combat and puzzle solving was just like all there like you'd expect from any other Lego game. Another thing I can appreciate is just that the locals taking advantage of capitalism and just having a whole cart of blue flowers ready to sell Bruce Wayne. And of course it's located conveniently next to their yak skiing lift. After successfully training at and escaping the League of Shadows, we make it back to the location of the future Batcave, and we even get to play as Alfred as we get things started off. Now that he has his base of operations, Bruce Wayne is ready to suit up and become the Caped Crusader himself. He then immediately sets off and starts to deal with some of those Falcone goons, which is followed close by a beautiful moonlight pose of epicness. The combat in this game is actually really great because it plays a lot like those Arkham Asylum video games. You can do drop-down takedowns, punches, counters, and then they added some fun stuff like getting guys stuck in trash cans that are on fire. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Another cool thing is that each character has their own unique gadget. Gordon's is this foam sprayer that can stop gears from moving and do other things like put out fires and clog pipes. It's pretty unique and fun to try and work with to solve puzzles. Yeah, the areas in this game let you do a stealthy approach if you want, but I naturally fail this on my first attempt, and when a bunch of guys come to attack me, I just jump up here and let Gordon deal with it all. In this game, instead of mini kits, there are destroyable objects. For this level, there's surfboards. There's 5 in each level, and what's cool about this game is you can actually see what order the surfboards are in, so if you find that you miss one, it's easy to backtrack and get the one you missed. There are a good amount of unique enemies in this game. This is the introduction of the gunner, which I have to dodge by pressing B in order to avoid getting hit. While I was destroying things for studs, I came across my first red brick, Now, in traditional Batman games like Lego Batman 1 and 2, these red bricks give you very useful power-ups that help make the game a little bit easier as you progress. However, in this game, they're just purely cosmetic and honestly kind of disappointing in my opinion. Anyway, to finish out the level, we bust open this garage door and knock the dirty cop unconscious. In traditional vigilante style, we of course use the most humane and approved interrogation methods to get information out of this guy. After completing missions, you typically get a few things: a skill brick that you can use to upgrade your characters and new cosmetics, as well as you can see all of the Batcave trophies and red bricks you got. And as you can see, they made it possible in this game to 100% a mission level without needing to replay it. After we flex on Gordon with our sweet, sweet ride, we're then introduced to the next mechanic of this game, which is driving. Driving in this game honestly feels really good. There's a nice satisfying boost and you're able to get corners pretty well even in the dense city environment. After playing around with the menus, I was able to find this characters tab, which just has a bunch of characters I have yet to unlock. And then as I flip to this next menu, I can see where I can spend my gold bricks to upgrade both my combat and exploration abilities. Things like the stud multiplier seemed especially important to get early on. After some town exploration, I was quickly able to find this trophy icon, which is one of the Batcave trophies for this district. There are 10 of these in each district, and I would need to find them all to fully 100% the game. I drive over to the next objective in the story, and I'm greeted with a cop who doesn't want to talk to just some guy in a bat costume. However, she'll talk to Gordon for whatever reason. Basically, someone ripped up the wanted poster, and we have to go and collect all the pieces of it so we can put it all back together again. Once we do that, we're able to clearly match up the portrait and find out that we're looking for the Penguin. Once Gordon and I track down the Penguin, he actually tries to escape, but then we eventually catch him and kind of explode his car. I'm sure he doesn't mind, he has insurance probably, right? Once again, we interrogate this suspect with only the most approved of investigative tactics, and then he rather rudely runs off with his umbrella and just leaves his burning car in the middle of the road. Before we make it over to the Iceberg Lounge to catch Falcone, we're interrupted by this room that the Riddler himself prepared for us. These rooms are fairly straightforward. Usually there's a mirror and we basically just have to match the differences in the mirror. This one's fairly simple. We just need to put the teddy bear on the right pillar. But as the game progresses, the puzzles get more interesting and creative. I actually really like these rooms, both for their aesthetic and for their puzzles. Anyway, Gordon and I eventually make it over to the Iceberg Lounge where these two guys claim to not know that Falcone's here, but since we do know that Falcone's here, we just break in and just start punching people. After taking care of that group, we get to listen to this sick DJ as we parkour over the crowds and eventually make it to the next room. In the next room, I actually found this piece of paper that was missing all but one number of the code. So rather than looking for the last number, I just decided to sit here and guess and check until I'm eventually able to open this money vault and grab the red brick inside. After that expert demonstration on safe cracking, we run into the dirty cop again, and he has totally not Catwoman open up the door for us so we can continue through the level. Somehow the level progresses to now we're making Falcone's lunch, which consists of a giant burger, an ice cream cone, and some sushi, which isn't quite all the food groups, but I guess it works for him. I was actually really disappointed when they didn't let me into the ska music room, but I was able to quickly calm my sadness just by going through this tunnel and finding another Wayne cache. We make it past the music room section by making this catapult and busting open a hole so we can make it into the funhouse section. Now, I have never been down a rabbit hole and ended up in Wonderland, but I would imagine that this is similar to what Alice might have experienced in that story. Also, I know there's a lot of controversy about when they added actual spoken word dialogue to LEGO games, but I'd like to think in this case, this one line said by this one random goon makes up for it.
We might not have health insurance, but boy does this make up for it!
But yeah, this level's kind of similar to the level that happened before it, except for instead of fighting goons in a storage container yard, we are fighting them in a ball pit. Also in this level, another fun and unique way to use Gordon's foam gun is by using it to stop the volume on speakers, and I don't believe this ever happens again in the game if I remember correctly. One of my favorite things about this game is that it's able to have a nice balance between the seriousness of Batman's story alongside the goofiness of traditional LEGO games. So here we just have another fun sequence where they're using a random jackhammer they built to just go through a bunch of random floors. Just as we're about to reach Falcone, we get interrupted by some guys. But of course, rather than, fighting them, because we've already done a lot of fighting, we instead choose to have a really epic dance battle. Now this is something I never thought I would see in my life, and just here it is in all its glory. Lego Batman, like dancing, some kind of rhythm game. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore, but I like it. Well, after whatever that was, we get this cutscene where we can see Falcone and this red mask guy talking about their plan to smuggle chemicals into Gotham through these teddy bears. After all that, Falcone tries to run away. Catwoman's cat trips him up, the police capture him and bring him into custody, and of course, we finish the level. I'm not really sure how I feel about the in-between stuff in between the story. I mean, this one's kind of interesting because Gordon's invited to the Batcave and he gets his second utility item, which is this gun that fires a bullet that bounces around a whole bunch. One thing that we finally get access to is the workbench, which allows us to spend Wayne chips that we pick up from doing random things across town to upgrade our abilities. Once we're all done in the Batcave, we then make it over to Wayne Tower. Now we can't let Gordon know the true identity of Batman, so we gotta ditch him first. After we ditch him, we're able to meet up with Lucius. Now this mini level with Lucius is actually kind of fun. We have to first find 3 batteries to help power the analyzer. Now the first 2 weren't bad, but I will admit that it probably took me more time than it should have to realize I can push this thing over to the shelf and grab the 3rd battery. Anyway, once we have all the batteries, we're able to start looking at the analyzer and figure out what chemicals we're dealing with inside these teddy bears. Alright, we're back at it again with Gordon, except for this time at Ace Chemicals. Now we know that they've been smuggling some kind of chemical inside the teddy bears, so we're just wandering around the complex collecting samples of them right now. I try to be stealthy and tactical by luring them away from each other by using the sound of batarangs. However, that plan just quickly falls apart and I'm forced to just engage in combat again. Later I discovered there was a lever that dropped a crate on all of those guys, and I wish I knew about that before I destroyed all of them. Anyway, for the rest of this outside portion of the level, we're basically just analyzing teddy bears, fighting more guys to get to more teddy bears, and then just kind of rinse and repeat 3 times. While I was sneaking around, I ran into these security cameras. Now one thing you can do is throw your batarang at them to temporarily disable them, but another thing you can do is just ignore the fact that I forgot that. After we finish sampling all the teddy bears, we're able to go inside this vent and start the inside portion of the mission. When we go inside, we get this clip where the red mask guy tells the best joke of the century, and we don't actually get to hear what it even was. It was kind of disappointing. At the start of this level, we have to fight a brute. Brutes aren't really bad by themselves, they just have a lot of health, so it can take a while to deal with them. But usually they only become a problem if there's like a big group of guys and brutes mixed in. Now this is just a barehanded brute, so it's not that bad, but later they get hammers and shields, which makes them more difficult to defeat later on in the progression of the story. But yeah, now we're just in another level where we gotta sneak around and take down bad guys just while a bunch of vats of chemicals are nearby. Now aside from the final boss fight / mission of the game, this is the closest I'd ever come to losing all 3 of my lives and needing to restart the level. The first one, as you just saw, was because I wasn't expecting an exploding barrel to deal 2 hearts of damage, and then this one was because I was not expecting that metal covering to just fly and deal all of my hearts of damage, immediately killing me. And this was only for a purple piece too, so it kind of felt like a waste. Anyway, this made me need to play the rest of the level extremely cautiously so I wouldn't need to restart it. We make it deep enough inside the factory where we're able to finally build something to put a stop to the soon-to-be Joker's plans of relieving his Smile-X on the citizens of Gotham. However, once we defeat him, he decides to just completely destroy everything and then explode the Ace Chemicals plant. This actually brings us to a really cool sequence where we get a chase after him while the whole factory just crumbles around us. In this chase sequence, we actually get to copy the Lego Batman movie and throw a batarang at a target button through the window. And of course I did this on my first try. The final section of this Ace Chemicals mission is just kind of a big fighting arena where we fight off a bunch of the low-level goons while the Red Hood guy just throws a bunch of rockets at us. In the final cutscene, Batman actually tries to save him from falling into the vat of acid. We have to hold right trigger to hold on to him, but then he just tricks us with a shock buzzer, forcing us to let go as he falls into the vat of acid. It's so sad. Chapter 2. The Red Hood guy is now officially the Joker, but who really cares about that when I gotta decorate my Batcave? Also, while we're at the Batcave, we get this really cool reference from Arkham Asylum. Now, when these walls appear out in the wild, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled at first to actually see them, but I'm sure it didn't actually cause that much time loss. We also get an introduction to easily my least favorite part of the game. Now, you don't have to buy everything in the shop to 100% the game, but I did out of principle and I still hated it. Anyway, this guy's pretty annoying because he just tries to sell you your own merchandise, and he just pops up like one of those police scanners, just periodically letting you know that he has more stuff in the shop, and it's really annoying because it's like, bruh, I just don't care, leave me alone. Now we get a call on the phone, but once we see Joker make his first TV appearance, we just immediately hang up and completely ignore whoever tried to call us. In this opening clip, it pretty much introduces to us the fact that instead of fighting Falcone goons or Red Mask guys, we're going to be fighting mimes, which is arguably more entertaining. We also see Two-Face get made through a series of unfortunate accidents, and then we also see the Penguin fly away because he's running for mayor for whatever reason. The first thing we get to do in this mission is drive our car around the streets of Gotham, firing missiles at a bunch of mime cars until they're weak enough so where we can just grapple onto them and pull them to just completely destroy them. I really like this. I thought it was a fun way to start the mission. One mime car even tried to hide, but we were able to clean it, jump off this sick ramp, and then catch it no problem. Now we get our introduction into our next playable character, which is Catwoman. Now, if you ask me, Batman kind of tries way too hard to get with Catwoman in this opening sequence. I'm sure it's a reference to something, man, but bro is just not playing it as cool as Batman should. Just a little ways into the level, we make it into this elevator with Catwoman, and it starts going down regularly, normal. We get some funny cutscenes of a cat's chasing a guy, but then it stops and we get to use the Batman Arkham Asylum reference again and then just immediately plummet all the way to the bottom floor and just end up unscathed. It's very convenient. Catwoman's always had the whip we could use, but here we get an introduction to her second ability, which is using a laser pointer to summon a cat. Then you can control this cat, and then the cat can be used to grab things and push buttons on the other side of walls by going through these cat doors. I also just love recalling the cats because you just see them zoom off the screen like that. We eventually arrive at another stealth room where I believe you're supposedly supposed to be able to take out these mimes that are posing as mannequins all stealth-like. However, I just immediately mess this up and just start fighting people like regular. Just as a side note, I thought this little mini game to get the red brick was kind of fun. Anyway, the level continues by, you guessed it, fighting more mimes, including this big mime, which I think actually looks really funny. I made it to the final room where you're supposed to just build something after you destroy a bunch of things. However, I see these cars and driving them, the urge to just drive them, it's way too strong, man. They gotta fix this or something. Psych. The real reason I went back was because I missed a cat head. I mean, look at this guy. He's just chilling up there. How was I supposed to see that? Anyway, we got him now so we could head back. This little guy thought he could be sneaky on the ledge too, but I got him. Anyway, time to play these guitars. Alright, this is just straight up epic. But really, what are we doing here? We're just some kind of rhythm timing game while Catwoman and Batman are jamming out on guitars. Then a bunch of mimes break in and Catwoman just flies them off into the stratosphere just by playing her awesome guitar solo. Like, what even is this game coming to? After all that, we're able to get out and we find this suspicious looking penguin. Also new costumes. Well, you guessed it, Catwoman and I are now at the zoo, specifically the Arctic world part of it, where we're hunting down the penguin. Also, for some reason, the penguin thinks we're the pizza delivery guy, but I'm sure he won't mind us anyway. We're also introduced to Catwoman's other unique ability where we can just climb walls with her cat claws. Low-key, this isn't really super useful when you can just glide or fly everywhere in the overworld, but for levels it has some niche purposes, like pulling this lever. One thing I will say is that as far as minions go, Penguin easily has my favorite ones. They're just in fun little penguin costumes. It's honestly great. Another ability of Batman's is thermal vision. It's kind of cool, but it's also limited in its use, where you pretty much have to be next to something hot before you can even activate it. And then usually it just leads you to something that you feel like you should have just been able to break before you even use thermal vision. After making it further into the level, we're greeted by this nice friendly shark who just wants to give us a little kiss. And of course we use our trusty bat shark repellent on it. The new plan was to make this fast jet boat, but the shark was still able to catch us. Luckily, once we start threatening him with the dreaded bat shark repellent spray, he lets us go no problem. We finally make it to the penguin boss fight, and it's nothing too special. We're just fighting a bunch of the minions as well as the penguin at the same time. The only unique part about the first stage at least is that he goes up on his umbrella and starts throwing bombs until we pull him down with the bat claw. The second stage gets a little more difficult when he shows up on this giant rideable duck and starts firing missiles from it. Also, apparently the duck can just straight up breathe fire. I don't know how or why, but it can. Eventually the duck overheats or something, so we're able to just whip it as Catwoman to damage itself with its own missile and then get it into a stun state where we can start beating it up. We end this by getting the famous Batman Isekai costume from that one movie, and then whatever the heck Catwoman put on her face. In between missions, we actually get this cool little break with the Condiment King. We see this police officer and have to build an entire car wash around him just to get him okay. We eventually are led to this warehouse where we do the easiest boss fight in the game. We literally just need to get close enough to throw a batarang at him and we're done. The next mission takes place at the museum, and it starts with this really cool sequence where Joker just kind of comes in with a boombox and starts trashing the place. I mean, it's pretty fun, and then the level itself is pretty good too. I mean, we're pretty much just wandering around a museum trying to follow in the Joker's tracks. What's kind of convenient about this level too is that there are a lot of priceless artworks you can just steal for a lot of studs, so it makes it a pretty good money grinding place if you ever need to do that. And what I feel is very typical for the Joker, we end with this big surprise inside, which we just crack the safe and we see that everyone has been taking the laughing gas that Joker has been making. And then we get this video of Joker kind of taunting us that we need to do better, to like catch him or stop him or whatever. Well, now that the Flugelheim has been successfully ransacked by both me and the Joker, we're able to move on to the next mission. In the next mission, we see that Joker is hosting a parade and just handing out free money to everybody. So naturally, it's our job to infiltrate the parade, take out all the guards, and release the balloons so that way the laughing gas doesn't just get triggered on everybody. A convenient thing about this level was that it's super linear, so you can just clearly see all the cakes and Wayne caches along on the side, and it's not too bad to find them all. One section I especially liked is this little Catwoman mini adventure where you get to just break into some random person's apartment and then kind of just move around as a cat until you find what you're looking for. This level gives us a really cool ending boss fight after we release the final balloon, and I just want to say again, I really love the vibe of this whole Joker villain thing, because you see the guys just coming in with fancy cars and just ready to fight, and then you got all the explosions and rockets from the battle. It just always feels great. This final sequence at the end of the level is also kind of cool because, you know, we're just trying to, you know, get over to Joker and catch him, and then he eventually like gets on a helicopter and almost escapes, but then we grapple him and then make him fall into some cake. I don't know, it was just a pretty cool sequence of events altogether. And then, you know, it's kind of weird though, he does change faces somehow from one Joker to the next, but I'm sure it's fine. Also, yay, I was able to 100% the level on my first playthrough. Anyway, it's time to swing on over to the bat signal and start Chapter 3. The opening cutscene for Chapter 3 is pretty cool because we see Gentleman Ghost and the Condiment King fighting Batman. We see that Gordon finally becomes commissioner. Catwoman's driving the Batmobile. Poison Ivy made her plant poison. And of course, Harvey Dent getting kidnapped by some big guy. And then we cut to Batman and Catwoman with some theater tickets going to see the circus together. But of course, we also have to go steal money from this unsuspecting large picture of a safe on the wall first. Unfortunately, we get separated from Catwoman for a bit, and we have to listen to this person yap about how plants need more of our money. And of course, when we're just trying to enjoy the circus, Two-Face shows up with a giant bomb and now we have to go fight him. This level is actually a pretty basic layout. First we do this little obstacle course, then we fight bad guys, then we do the obstacle course again but slightly harder, and now finally take out his bomb once and for all. Also, I just want to say I absolutely love this neon punk theme that they got going on in this cutscene. Also, my first time going through this, I did not even notice that there was a Batcave trophy to collect, so just ignore that. Anyway, Robin did such a great job, so we decided to kidnap him and bring him back to the Batcave. In between missions, Robin has to complete this time trial thing, and it's honestly, these time trials are the most annoying because it doesn't even teach you all of the gliding mechanics when you're learning through the tutorial. So you kind of just have to figure these out in the way, and then usually your grappling hook never goes where you want it to go, and the hoops just don't work. Something, I don't know, I was very annoyed, but they were still kind of fun. After the movement training, you then have to play as Robin again for some combat time trial training. Now there's no way you're getting gold with Robin, but I later figure out that you can just be Gordon for all these time trial combats and then just win the game immediately. It's so easy. At the start of the next mission, we're introduced to a new bad guy type, which is just a big guy holding a hammer. Which, you know, all big guys have a lot of health, so they're difficult to deal with, but the hammer guys aren't generally too bad because sometimes they can just hit the other small guys around them, which is kind of convenient. After that combat, I decided to go check out the Waylon Jones mission. Now this is the first of I think like 7 Waylon Jones missions, where usually all you have to do is investigate the crime scene, then you talk to Waylon, and it's usually kind of pretty simple. It's kind of interesting, but also a little bit tedious. In the next, actual mission, we're introduced to Kite Man, who has been spreading Poison Ivy's plant seeds all throughout Gotham. These plants aren't too difficult to deal with. Usually you just have to follow their vines back to their pods, and once you destroy all their pods, you just go back to the main plant and you can freeze it and kill it. The ending cutscene's pretty great because we get to warn Kite Man about the dangers of trusting a woman. That's that mission done, but I just want to say one quick thing. The plants in this cutscene were so cute. That guy was just on a boat, another one reading a newspaper. It's great. Next up is the Botanical Gardens, where the first thing I do is pick up this weird little VHS tape, and I'm unable to play it, and I don't remember it even having a purpose. I don't know why you can just pick it up and spin it around like this. It doesn't make sense. One thing I will say though is that this level reminded me how good the game worked. I love the botanical garden kind of theme, and you get to go through this waterfall to find a secret Wayne cache hidden in this cave. Just looks great, feels great. As we go through the level, we get to fight these cool looking lily pad face green guys. They're actually pretty cool because it's the only time you get to fight them outside of the random plant events in the open world part of the story. I also really like how they use Robin's tightrope mechanic to not just create a tightrope, but rather move the plants over to where you need to go. It's kind of like a cool, unique way to use his gadget. We even get to use the same mechanic to clear out some vines so we can find this secret Wayne cache. I also just really like this idea of a plant-filled hallway kind of obstacle course that you just gotta run through and hope you don't get stabbed too much by the spikes. Near the end of the level, we actually get to make this cool lawnmower thing and drive it around. It honestly doesn't really feel as satisfying as Lego Batman 1, but it just kind of gave some nostalgia that I really liked. Naturally, the level ends with this Poison Ivy boss fight, and honestly, she has kind of one of the biggest slowdowns in history, because she goes from this researcher with glasses to just some random chick with crazy eyebrows, like my goodness. We even get 2 parts to this boss battle. The first one's just like your typical kind of Poison Ivy boss fight, and then afterwards we get to fight her really cool 2-headed flower dragon. The dragon fight's actually really cool because it has all these big AoE attacks that just fill the entire arena, and then once it smacks its tail down, we're able to pull it and we get into its weakened state. And don't forget, we're fighting the little guys while we're doing all this. Well, that's Poison Ivy down and a goofy little plant trophy acquired. Also, look, it's Mr. Freeze. I wonder who we're going to fight next. Although, of course, before they cool things down, they heat things up with this Firefly guy who interrupts a cool costume party at the museum. Honestly, he's the biggest menace of this entire game, let's be real. This level also serves to introduce Batgirl, who has a hacker ring who can just hack and open things and control things whenever there's a console available to her. Because of course, being able to hack this whale and shoot water from it to put out a fire is totally something that makes sense. She also has this cool drone guy that she can fly around, and it kind of sets up as an anchor point that you can grapple to and stand on. Low-key, you can kind of cheese some stuff with this, but the drone was always so slow to fly that I never bothered. After we rescued all the costume party goers, we then just get to use the drone to grapple to and glide through the burning rooms until we eventually make it to the Firefly. Right before the last room in the level, I found this weird planet puzzle, but I couldn't figure it out, so I left for a moment. When I got back to progressing through the level, I found out that the drone has another ability where they can fly through things and scan codes. Then once you have scanned the code, you can then enter it in on this keypad to open up doors and stuff. And this mechanic happens a few times throughout the game. Okay, now back to the planet room. Admittedly, this did take me much longer than I care to admit. However, I figured out that all of them could turn red, and then once you do that, you get the red brick. Honestly, I should have been able to figure that out, but I spent a big chunk of time on this. In the last room, we're finally able to gain control of this giant fly swatter and swat this fire bug guy. The problem is that once we finally get the fire situation taken care of, Mr. Freeze just comes in and freezes everything, including Gordon. So now we have to go and try and fix it. The problem is that once we finally get the fire situation taken care of, Mr. Freeze just comes in and freezes everything, including Gordon. So now we have to go and try and fix him. We literally have to drag this guy through the bat cave in order to figure out how to fix him. This next part's actually pretty funny because in order to figure out what Mr. Freeze is planning, we have to track down this black mask guy, and then we get into this Street Fighter reference where we just beat up his car. I low-key kind of feel bad for him, but this reference was just too funny to leave out of the video. But yeah, after we completely destroy this guy's car and brutally interrogate him, we just leave him to the police. Low-key, this kinda seems like unjust, but what are you gonna do about it? He's Batman. We finally make it to where Mr. Freeze has been plotting his evil plots and plans. And I see this big shield guy running around, but before I deal with him, I just do the easy thing and pick up all the small guys with my bat claw and take care of them before I have to go down there and fight the big guy. After poning all the noobs outside, we're finally able to enter and continue the mission. This mission's actually kind of interesting because rather than like your typical level that you have to go through and solve puzzles, it just jumps straight into the boss fight, which I actually really like, and then there's like a small puzzle in between the second part of the boss fight. Like low-key, I kind of appreciate it because it just cuts to the good part, but it does kind of make me miss some of like the level navigation and puzzles. Also, I just want to say I was getting kind of worried. Literally every LEGO Batman I've ever played usually features a mech of some kind. And then now we finally get it with Mr. Freeze. I was a little worried we were going to miss that. Man, we beat Mr. Freeze so bad we shoved him into this tiny barrel. And interestingly, I think this is like one of the very few mission complete screens that just doesn't have Batman in it. The end of this mission also features a very wholesome Bat family moment that I just loved. Before going straight into the last chapter, I wanted to do a little bit of puzzle solving around the city, and I came across this one which I actually really liked. It just pretty much involves putting the car on this pressure plate after opening up the garage, and I just thought it was kind of a cool thing to have in the game. Or at least I would say that if Batman didn't hop off his pressure plate every time I turned around. There was also this other cool one where I gotta hack a crane as Batgirl and then use the Batmobile to smash the wrecking ball into a bus to open it up. There was also this other one that I thought was pretty funny where we literally had to do a construction worker's job to get them to move their truck away from the subway and to unlock the fast travel point. Alright, let's do this one more time. We get in here and we see Nightwing and Batgirl chilling out on their motorcycles. We see the new cooler Joker. And we also see, of course, Batman getting his new car. And of course, the first thing we gotta do is beat up some random clowns that are just chilling in the street. And of course, we get the iconic Joker walking away from an exploding hospital scene. Except for instead of the Dark Knight where it's real explosives, they just turn it to some goo to make it kid-friendly. The next thing we gotta do is chase Joker through this underground highway system as Talia and Batman. I actually really enjoyed this level because it was cool to see them work together to get up and to pass all these cars while riding on top of them. Eventually we make it to a truck where we're able to build a giant rocket on the back of, and once we ignite it we just start zooming up and fly towards the Joker. Luckily we were able to chase the Joker into running into that pothole, and then his truck does a complete 180 as it smashes on the ground, knocking the Joker out unconscious. Usually in Batman anything, I feel like the amusement park is always something Joker related, but interestingly here it's not exactly the case. It's League of Shadows related instead with Bane. And then here we're just literally going to 3 different spots in the amusement park with Talia and then going through the Tunnel of Love. And then at the end of the Tunnel of Love, apparently there's just all their secrets about where we need to go next. Alright, now I've played the Batman Arkham Asylum game, and when I saw that this scene was gonna also be in this Lego Batman game, I was intrigued, to say the least. It just is so cool to just kind of see this much of a reference to it, but just put in a Lego form. I really enjoyed it. And then of course, while we're there interrogating the Joker just gets control of the prison and we're forced to fight all these other guys. But I think this is actually a really cool way to incorporate all like the bad guys that they didn't quite get to. It's just kind of like a good inclusion, I think. But they could have made these unique villains a little bit more unique with their fighting style, I will say. We also get to see the Arkham Asylum Scarecrow show up and use his fear toxin on Batman. So then we start fighting all these other guys too, and we see this big projection of Bane. It's just a really cool scene, man. I enjoyed this so much. Look, man, all I'm saying is that this is probably the coolest group fight in the entire game. With all the orange particles and fog, it just looks sick. And even though we fought so hard, just like in the Dark Knight Rises movie, Bane severely injures Batman and just takes over the city with all of his crooks, while giving some lofty idealistic speech about what true justice is. Rather than hitting the bat signal to start the next chapter, this series of events automatically starts it for us. Basically what you need to know is that they have a doomsday device, and it's up to Nightwing and Batgirl to try and stop it for now. Chapter 6 really only has like 1 mission in it, but it's actually really cool because you get to be Nightwing and Batgirl and just sneak through the streets that are filled with criminals and those drones that can scan you and alert enemies to where you are. It's just a really cool post-apocalyptic kind of environment that I really enjoyed. There was also some puzzle elements too, like how we had to charge up this train to just ram a hole through the subway so we could continue our journey. Also, this did take a little bit to figure out, but I finally figured out how to disable this tank so we can get close enough to grab the final Wayne cache. I finally made it to the Bane fight, and let me just say, this was incredibly nerve-wracking, because if you look in the bottom left, you can see I'm playing on Dark Knight mode, and the 2 lives I lost during the mission are still carried over to this boss fight, so that just made this even more stressful as I had to be sure not to take too much damage and have to restart the entire level. That's not even mentioning the second phase where he gets even more juiced up on these drugs that he's taking. But thanks to my determination and raw gaming talent, I was able to do this entire boss fight in just 1 life. Of course, only after we defeat Bane is when Talia decides to show up, but then that's when it's revealed that it was really Alfred disguised as Batman the whole time. What a reveal. You see, little did Talia know that the real Bruce Wayne was with Batgirl and Nightwing trying to disable the Doomsday device. The Talia boss fight was sick because she had this really cool suit that we had to disable to make her vulnerable to attack her. But it wasn't as stressful as the Bane fight because it reset our lives. After the first phase, there actually is this really cute father-daughter moment where Gordon and Batgirl kind of team up to work on disabling the Doomsday device once and for all. It's just a happy family bonding moment in these dark times. It's so wholesome. But yeah, now we're back to Talia phase 2 and she's even stronger than before. She may be tougher, but she's still no match for me. As you see, I beat her without even losing a single life. Absolutely destroyed. Just like when Batman extended his arm to help Joker not fall into a vat of acid, we extend our arm to Talia. However, she just leaves a bomb in our hands and runs away. What a jerk, man. I'm just trying to help people. Well, that's my first run through of the story, and I'm sitting at only 49%, so I guess it's time to get cracking on some other things, huh? And of course, the first thing I do is go on the Bat computer to access the missions where I missed trophies and Wayne caches and go back and get those.
His office is a few floors down.
Yeah, that part actually wasn't too bad for me because I was pretty good about getting everything the first time I went through a level. Now we're pretty much just on to the open world section of the game where I'm just wandering around Gotham doing random things to eventually 100% the game. One of my favorite things to do are actually these driving time trials where you actually just get a boost through the narrow streets of Gotham through these rings and hopefully get the gold time. Now, some of them were actually kind of a lot more difficult than others, but I was able to eventually get gold on all of them, so I like to think that that's at least worth something, even if you don't technically have to do that to get 100% in the game. Now, we don't necessarily just have to go around blind trying to find everything in Gotham. The game actually gives us these very convenient radio towers that we can activate once we beat the game, and it'll just highlight on the map everywhere where there's something we need to go and do. Except for, of course, bat signals, but we'll get to those later. Now, there's a lot to do, but low-key it's kind of repetitive, so I'm only going to be covering some of the ones I thought were especially interesting and kind of skip the ones like these where it's just a Wayne cache sitting in the middle of nowhere. For example, I really enjoyed taking down this plant because it just kind of corrupted an entire unfinished building, and we had to use a variety of different methods to break all the pods and ultimately finish it off. One thing I kind of had mixed feelings about were these parkour time trials, because on one hand you get a really good sense for the movement and it just feels cool to just rush around Gotham and hit these airstreams. But on another hand, sometimes it feels a little inconsistent with the gliding and grappling hook mechanics, so it made it a little annoying to try and get gold on every single one. I did think that this external Riddler puzzle was pretty cool because you had to line up the lights on the windows to make them be a question mark to open up this box. There are only 2 of these in the entire game, but I thought it was pretty cool how they had these kind of speed triggers that you had to just jump through in order to activate it and get the puzzle box at the bottom. Also, maybe I'm just a sucker for unfinished buildings, but I enjoyed looking around this building for 4 cobras and putting trackers on them. I also want to just take a moment to really appreciate this plant who decided to grow in the only garage where I could fly a drone through the window and scan the code to open it. Okay, I don't want to talk about how long it took me to notice this, but the symbols on these little wheel things are actually just numbers mirrored and then on top of each other, so you can see it's like a 4 or 3 mirrored and then just placed on top of each other. I couldn't figure that out for the longest time, so I was literally just guessing and checking these until it opened. Another thing I don't want to talk about is how I completely forgot that just Robin and Nightwing can use their tightrope launcher to just put the small batteries into their spot. But luckily I was able to just cheese it with Batgirl's drone anyway, so it ended up not mattering. One thing I will say though is I thought the Clue Master rooms were a little annoying, because it's just so slow to have to pick up an arrow, put it on the spot, pick up another arrow, put it on that spot. The puzzles aren't even hard, just the game mechanics of the picking up and putting down just makes them take forever. I did, however, think it was really funny that a citizen was using a piece of a wanted poster to clean his windows, and he wouldn't give it to us until we provided him with a new solution. Okay, I may be a sucker for music puzzles, but I just really enjoyed this little Simon Says random air vent rooftop thing we had going on here for some of these puzzles. I thought this Riddler puzzle was pretty cool because we got to look for pictures just scattered on the ground, and then we had to find where they were in the actual building, and then we could use our UV light to scan them to figure out the code for and eventually open up the box. Also from the Riddler, we get these really cool mirror rooms. Like I mentioned before, I just love the vibe of these, and it's super cool how you just get to try and match what's in the mirror, and I just really like the vibe, aesthetic, and just kind of puzzle solving in all of these Riddler rooms. Okay, I just want to say that I always love a good train puzzle, but then the vibe is totally killed with this one because of just how long it takes to move all these to the correct position. I think the Falcone Fortune questline is kind of hit or miss because it's kind of cool that you're Catwoman just sneaking in and stealing money out of a safe, but then sometimes they do kind of feel a little bit repetitive or awkward. But I just want to say this one especially I just absolutely loved. It's like some old warehouse, so you got to sneak around and take out all the guards. And then you can find the clue to which cell has the money that you're looking for, and then you need to go and find the cell. I just love everything about this room. It's great. Another quick thing I just want to say that I loved was just how we got to interact with the environment in this game. We got to drag this bell over to smash it open and get to the plant pot inside. Some of just the environmental aspects of this game and the puzzles are pretty cool. Okay, usually the spotlight puzzles are pretty easy and that's why they're kind of boring, but this one's really cool because you have to cycle through the different arrows that each spotlight can make until you get one that actually matches, kind of fits in with the rest of them. And I just think this kind of level of critical thinking with just kind of using the lights to create a path through all those buttons down there was just really interesting, and I loved it. Okay, come on man, these Riddler rooms just look so cool. Anyway, the last puzzle room is actually a combination with the Riddler and the Clue Master. So you have to like line up the robot in the mirror also with like the other stuff that you also have to find in around the room and line up with the mirror. It's pretty cool, but I just want to say that the Clue Master totally messes up the Riddler's vibes. Okay, I guess the end of the Waylon Jones storyline is actually kind of cool because we figure out that the police are actually trying to kill him for good and Waylon just wants to live out in peace. So we stage up this fake fight and pretend to drive him off, and then so that way you can just go find a place where you can be happy. Well, I finally finished collecting everything around Gotham, and technically that's enough to 100% the game. But there's still this challenge board here with some challenges that I haven't done yet, and personally I just feel unsatisfied if I didn't complete them all. Some of the challenges are kind of fun, some of them are a little tedious, but I don't know, this one where you dress up as the Grey Ghost and go to the Monarch Theater I thought was kind of funny. Then of course taking a picture of the Gentleman Ghost is also kind of cool. Definitely one of the more tedious ones though was where you just have to drive and hold boost for 30 seconds without hitting anything. It definitely gets a little tedious with just how much stuff you realize is on the streets of Gotham. But, you know, after about 5 minutes of just driving around holding boost, I was able to get it. While I was running around doing the challenges, I didn't realize that this thing opened up when I 100%ed the game. You can just go here and hit start mission, and instead of it being a secret level like I was kind of hoping for, it was just kind of this cool Batcave party. So I mean, it's still kind of cool. One thing I will say though is that I do kind of miss the levels where you have to just run around breaking things and solving puzzles to collect a million studs. Like I feel like that would have been a really nice way to end the game, but you know, cool Batcave party's pretty cool. One of the challenges I was struggling with for a little bit was using 5 focus abilities in one combo. Or at least that was until I discovered how broken Gordon is. Like, he just fires his thing, his combo meter goes insane, his bullets just ricochet off everyone, he does insane damage. Like, this character's just so broken when it comes to fighting. It made, like, the challenge just ridiculously easy. Well, not to brag or anything, but I'd say that's one sweet looking mural right there. Well, I thought I was done, but then I had to boot up the game once again because I realized there's one more thing I gotta take care of. Are you ready for the most insane bat signal collecting montage of your life? Well, that's all of them. I bet y'all are jealous of my sweet dinosaur now. Of course I'm taking a selfie with Robin in a bird suit for posterity purposes, man. This is gonna look so cool on Facebook. Okay, in all seriousness, I don't mind if the developers of the game want to have a reward for people who just wander aimlessly around their world. But this one that was just in the back of some random guy's garage, like no one's finding that without a guide, my goodness. Anyway, I should be done, right? Right, there should be no more other things I should have to do to 100% the game in my heart, right? Ah, if this isn't gameplay at its finest.
No refunds.
Sorry, don't mind me just stealing priceless artifacts so I can buy decorations for my Batcave. Like, trust me, I need it. I need to steal this for the money, man. You don't understand. My Batcave needs to look really cool. Alright, this should be the last one over here. Nice. Never have to worry about that again. Well, I guess I'm done for real now. Overall, I'd say I absolutely loved the story of this game. It was just so fun. Like, the first playthrough was so good. But I do feel like it's missing some of the Lego staples, you know, like the red bricks that make you more powerful instead of just being cosmetic. And then especially I think the free play to unlock more areas within a side of a level is also just one thing that I really miss. And then of course there's also the open world elements of this game, which I feel like just wasn't really as strong as in like Lego Batman 2, for example. But yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say about this game. Have a great day.